I was 8 months pregnant when my husband's mistress slapped me outside the courtroom. I fell hard on those cold courthouse steps. Then she kicked my belly and pulled my hair while everyone just watched. But when that luxury car pulled up and my brother stepped out, her face went white. She knew her game was over. What you're about to hear will shock you. This woman destroyed my marriage, manipulated my husband, and turned his family against me. But she made one fatal mistake. She didn't know who my brother was. Stay with me because this revenge is absolutely epic. My name is Stella, and 5 years ago, I married the love of my life. Matteo was everything I'd ever dreamed of. He was kind, hardworking, and had this smile that could light up the darkest room. We met at a coffee shop where I worked part-time while finishing college. He'd come in every morning, order the same black coffee, and eventually worked up the courage to ask me out. Our love story was simple, beautiful, and real. I came from a normal middle-class family, or at least that's what Matteo knew. What I never told him was that my older brother Christopher had become incredibly successful. He'd built a tech empire from nothing and was now worth billions. But Christopher lived abroad, and we rarely saw each other. I made a conscious choice not to tell Matteo about my brother's wealth. I wanted him to love me for me, not because of some family connection to money. I wanted our love to be pure, untouched by the complications that wealth can bring. For 5 years, we were happy, genuinely happy. We lived in a small apartment, worked hard, and built our life together brick by brick. When I found out I was pregnant 8 months ago, Matteo cried tears of joy. He held my face in his hands and told me I'd just made him the happiest man alive. Those early months of pregnancy were magical. He'd talk to my belly every night, read stories to our unborn baby, and promise to be the best father in the world. Then Rachel walked into our lives. She joined Matteo's office about 6 months ago. At first, she seemed nice enough, pretty, friendly, always smiling. She even invited me to lunch a few times, complimented my maternity clothes, and asked about the baby. I had no idea that behind that sweet smile was a calculating predator who'd been researching my background. Rachel had found an old photograph online from a charity event I'd attended with Christopher 2 years ago. In the photo, we were standing together, and the caption mentioned his name and company. She'd done her homework. She knew exactly who Christopher was and what he was worth. And suddenly, I wasn't just Matteo's pregnant wife anymore. I was her golden ticket. What I didn't know then was that Rachel was playing a double game that was so twisted, so evil, that even now it makes my blood run cold. She'd tracked Christopher's schedule and discovered he'd be in our city for business meetings. She'd positioned herself at the exact hotel bar where he was staying and engineered a chance encounter. My brother, who spent most of his time working and traveling, was lonely. Rachel was beautiful, charming, and she knew exactly what to say. She seduced him, started a secret affair, and convinced him she was a successful, single businesswoman. Christopher had no idea she knew about me. She never mentioned my name, and I had no idea she was sleeping with my brother while simultaneously working to destroy my marriage. Rachel's plan was brilliant in its cruelty. If she could get rid of me and position herself as a close family friend, she could eventually marry Christopher and secure billions. But first, she needed to eliminate me from the picture entirely. She needed Matteo's family to hate me so much that they'd force the divorce themselves. And that's exactly what she did. Matteo's mother, Rosa, had always been traditional and somewhat controlling, but she'd accepted me. His sister, Natalia, was jealous of our happiness, but had kept her distance. Rachel saw them as perfect tools for her plan. She started slowly, planting little seeds of doubt. She created fake text messages that made it look like I was talking badly about Rosa behind her back. She photoshopped images that suggested I was meeting other men while Matteo was at work. She whispered poison into Rosa's ear at every opportunity. The real turning point came with the jewelry incident. Rosa had an expensive bracelet that had been in their family for generations. One day, it disappeared. Rosa was devastated. A week later, Rachel made sure that bracelet was found in my purse during a family dinner. I'll never forget Rosa's face when she pulled it out, her hands shaking with rage. She called me a thief in front of everyone. I tried to explain, told them I'd never seen that bracelet before, but no one believed me. Natalia actually smiled while I cried. Mateo was torn apart. He loved me. I could see it in his eyes every time he looked at me. But his family was relentless. Rosa threatened to disown him if he didn't leave me. She told him I was trapping him with the pregnancy, that I'd planned everything to get access to their modest family business. The irony was suffocating. She was accusing me of being a gold digger when the real gold digger was sitting right there, comforting her and agreeing with every hateful word. Rachel played the role of concerned friend perfectly. She'd tell Mateo how worried she was about him, how his wife seemed different lately, how maybe the pregnancy was making me unstable. Every word was calculated poison. Then came the night that broke everything. Rachel organized a team dinner and made sure Mateo was there. She kept refilling his drinks, got him drunk, and then took compromising photos. Nothing happened, but the photos looked terrible. She sent them to me anonymously with a message that read, "Your husband is having more fun without you." I confronted Mateo the next morning, 8 months pregnant and crying so hard I could barely breathe. He swore nothing had happened, got down on his knees and begged me to believe him. And part of me did believe him. I could see the confusion in his eyes, the genuine panic. But the damage was done. Rosa found out about the confrontation and used it as ammunition. She called me paranoid and crazy. Natalia told me I wasn't good enough for their family and never had been. Rosa gave Mateo an ultimatum: divorce me or lose his family forever. She'd cut him off completely, he'd lose his job at the family business, and they'd make sure he never saw his nieces and nephews again. Mateo cried for 3 days straight. I watched the man I loved crumble under pressure. And then he filed for divorce. I was 8 months pregnant, about to lose my husband, my home, and my family. I'd never felt so alone in my entire life. What I didn't know was that Rachel was already planning her next move. She was going to position herself as the hero who helped Mateo through his divorce, reveal my connection to Christopher at just the right moment, and slide into my brother's life permanently as his wife. The divorce hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I walked into that courtroom alone, my belly heavy with Mateo's child, and felt the weight of everyone's judgment. Mateo was there with his lawyer, avoiding my eyes. Rosa and Natalia sat behind him like vultures, whispering and glaring at me. And then Rachel walked in, wearing a designer dress I later learned Christopher had bought her, dripping with confidence and cruelty. The hearing was a nightmare. Rosa took the stand and lied through her teeth. She said I'd been abusive to Mateo, that I'd threatened their family, that I'd stolen from them repeatedly. Natalia backed up every lie. I watched Mateo's face as his sister perjured herself, and I could see the guilt eating him alive, but he said nothing. When it was his turn to testify, he repeated the lies his family had fed him, but his voice kept breaking. He looked at me once, and I saw everything in his eyes: regret, love, pain, and weakness. When I took the stand, I told the truth. I explained how much I'd loved Mateo, how I'd given him everything, how I'd been set up and framed. I touched my belly and begged the judge to see that I was being destroyed by lies. I could feel my baby moving inside me, and I wondered what kind of world I was bringing her into. Then Rachel stood up and asked if she could speak. The judge allowed it, and Rachel launched into a performance worthy of an Oscar. She claimed to be my former friend, said I'd confessed to trapping Mateo with the pregnancy, accused me of being violent and unstable. Her final words cut through me like a knife. She doesn't deserve this baby. She's unfit to be a mother. I broke down completely. The judge called for a 30-minute recess, and I could see in his eyes that he believed them. I was going to lose everything. During the break, Mateo tried to approach me. His eyes were red from crying. He whispered, "I'm sorry. I still love you. My family is forcing me to do this." I looked at the man I'd married and said, "If you loved me, you'd fight for me." Rosa appeared and physically pulled him away from me. I walked outside because I couldn't breathe. The courthouse steps were crowded with people coming and going, but I'd never felt more alone. I stood there, one hand on my belly, trying to figure out how my life had fallen apart so completely. That's when Rachel came outside with Rosa and Natalia, flanking her like bodyguards. She walked straight up to me, got inches from my face, and smiled. "You lost," she said. "Mateo is mine now. That baby? He'll barely see it. I'll make sure of that." She looked at my pregnant belly with disgust. "You're nothing, just a poor girl who got lucky for a while." Before I could respond, her hand cracked across my face. The slap was so hard that I heard it echo off the courthouse walls. My head snapped to the side, and I stumbled backward. People around us gasped, but no one moved to help. I lost my balance and fell hard on the concrete steps. Pain shot through my back and hip as I hit the ground. All I could think about was protecting my baby. I curled around my belly, trying to shield her from whatever was coming next. Rachel stood over me, and I saw something demonic in her eyes. She pulled her leg back and kicked me in the side. The pain was excruciating. I screamed, begging her to stop, telling her I was pregnant, pleading for my baby's life. Rosa and Natalia just stood there watching. Rosa was actually laughing, telling Rachel that I deserved it. Then Rachel grabbed my hair and yanked my head back so hard I thought my neck would snap. Tears were streaming down my face. I could feel my baby moving frantically inside me, and I was terrified I was going to lose her right there on those steps. There were at least 20 people watching, some recording on their phones, but no one was helping me. Security was moving slowly, like they weren't sure if they should intervene. Rachel raised her hand again, aiming for my belly, and in that moment, I genuinely thought my baby and I were going to die. Then I heard it. The deep rumble of an expensive engine, tires screeching. The crowd's attention shifted. A sleek silver Rolls-Royce with custom plates pulled up to the courthouse entrance. The door opened, and everything seemed to move in slow motion. My brother Christopher stepped out. He was tall, imposing, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars, but it was his face that made my heart stop. I'd never seen him look like that. Pure rage, controlled and terrifying. His voice cut through the chaos like thunder. "Get your hands off my sister, now!" Rachel's grip on my hair went slack. I looked up and saw her face go completely white. Her mouth fell open and she took a step back. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no. What is he doing here?" I watched realization dawn across her face. She'd been playing both of us, and she'd just lost the game. Christopher walked toward us, and the crowd parted like he was Moses, and they were the Red Sea. He knelt beside me, his hands gentle as he helped me sit up. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft now. "Is the baby okay?" "Christopher?" I could barely speak through my tears. "How did you know?" "I've been watching," he said. "I know everything." Rachel turned and ran. She actually tried to run away. Christopher didn't even look at her. He just snapped his fingers, and 2 women in plain clothes appeared from nowhere and grabbed Rachel's arms. "Rachel Martinez," one of them said, pulling out a badge. "You're under arrest." Rachel was screaming now, thrashing in their grip. "Let me go. Christopher, tell them. We're together. Baby, please. I love you." The crowd was completely silent now, everyone trying to understand what was happening. Rosa and Natalia looked confused and terrified. I heard Mateo's voice from the courthouse entrance. He'd heard the commotion and come running. He saw me on the ground, Christopher helping me up, and Rachel being held by police officers. Christopher stood up and addressed the crowd, but his words were directed at Rachel. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" He turned to look at her, and his expression was colder than I'd ever seen. "You're a con artist, Rachel, and a stupid one." A man in a suit appeared carrying folders of evidence. Christopher took one and opened it. "Should we start with the affair?" he asked conversationally. "The one where you told me you were a single businesswoman while you were actually destroying my sister's marriage?" He pulled out photographs. Rachel and Christopher at expensive restaurants, on yachts, in hotel lobbies across 3 different cities. Bank statements showing transfers of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Credit card bills that made people in the crowd gasp. Over $500,000 in 4 months. "Or should we talk about your real plan?" Christopher continued. He pulled out printed text messages. "These are from your phone, Rachel. The one you thought you'd deleted. Here's my favorite. You wrote to your friend, The sister is the obstacle. Get rid of her, marry the billionaire, set for life. Rosa's face had gone gray. Wait, she said. You know him? You've been with him? Rachel was crying now, mascara running down her face. Christopher, please, you don't understand, I do love you. Love? Christopher laughed, but there was no humor in it. You love money. Let me tell everyone who you really are. He opened another folder. Your real name is Rachel Chen. You changed it 3 years ago. You have a criminal record in 3 states. Fraud, identity theft. You've scammed 5 other wealthy men. You're currently wanted in Nevada and Florida. The crowd was murmuring now, the shock palpable. Christopher wasn't done. Let's talk about how you framed my sister. He pulled out more evidence. Here's the metadata on those photoshopped images you created. Here's the receipt where you bought Rosa's bracelet from a pawn shop. Here's a recording where you admitted your whole plan. He played an audio clip. Rachel's voice, clear as day, talking to someone on the phone. The family is stupid. They believe everything I tell them. The mother actually thinks Stella stole from her. I'm paying the sister $10,000 to keep lying. Once Stella's gone, I'll have Christopher, and I'll be richer than I ever dreamed. Natalia made a choking sound. Rosa turned to look at her daughter, understanding finally breaking through. You knew? Rosa whispered. You were part of this? Natalia's face crumbled. She started crying, trying to explain, but Rosa slapped her. The sound was sharp and final. Mateo was on his knees now, his hands in his hair, making sounds like a wounded animal. What have I done? He kept saying. Stella, what have I done? Christopher turned to the police officers holding Rachel. She assaulted my sister, who is 8 months pregnant. She kicked her and tried to attack her unborn child. I have 20 witnesses and multiple video recordings. I want her charged with everything possible. Already done, one of the officers said. We've also got warrants from 2 other states. She's looking at serious prison time. Rachel tried one more time. She looked at Christopher with desperate eyes. I loved you, she said. I really did. Please don't do this. Christopher's response was ice. You're a liar. You're going to prison, and you're never getting out. He turned to Mateo, who was still on his knees. You, Christopher said, and his voice could have frozen hell. You're the husband who let his family destroy my sister. I didn't know, Mateo said, tears streaming down his face. I swear I didn't know. I love her. I've always loved her. They manipulated me. I was weak. I was stupid. Stella, please. Christopher looked at me. Do you want me to destroy him too? I was crying, holding my belly, my body aching from the fall and the kicks. I looked at Mateo, and I saw the man I'd fallen in love with buried under all that guilt and shame. He was manipulated, I said quietly. But he was also weak. He chose his family over me. Christopher nodded. He turned back to Mateo. Your family business survives because of contracts you don't even know about. Contracts that flow through my network. As of this moment, they're all canceled. Rosa made a sound like she'd been punched. No, please. That will destroy us. You destroyed my sister, Christopher said simply. You showed her no mercy. Why should I show you any? He turned to Natalia. You accepted bribes to lie under oath. That's perjury and conspiracy to commit fraud. The officers have a warrant for you, too. Another police officer stepped forward and put handcuffs on Natalia. She was sobbing, begging for forgiveness. Rosa collapsed onto the courthouse steps, her whole world crumbling around her. Christopher helped me to my feet, his arm around me protectively. We're going to the hospital, he said. Right now. We need to make sure the baby is okay. He led me toward his car while cameras flashed and people stared. Behind us, I could hear Rachel screaming as they put her in the police car. I could hear Rosa wailing. I could hear Mateo calling my name. At the hospital, they checked me and the baby thoroughly. By some miracle, my baby girl was fine. The doctor said it was incredibly lucky that the fall and kicks could have caused serious damage. They put me on bed rest for the remainder of my pregnancy. Christopher stayed with me the entire time. He held my hand while I cried, promised me that no one would ever hurt me again, and told me that he'd set up a $50 million trust fund for my baby. He bought me a mansion with full security. He promised to be the best uncle in the world. Mateo stayed outside the hospital for 3 days. He didn't eat, barely slept, just waited. Rosa eventually joined him, finally understanding what her pride and cruelty had cost her. They both wanted forgiveness. I didn't know if I had forgiveness to give. Mateo had been manipulated, yes, but he'd also been weak. He'd believed lies over his wife. He'd let his family destroy the woman carrying his child. Love shouldn't be that fragile. Love should fight harder. 2 months later, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. I named her Grace because that's what I needed to find in my heart. Christopher was there for the birth. Mateo was allowed in for a few minutes afterward. He held his daughter and cried so hard he could barely breathe. Rachel was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Other victims came forward, and additional charges were filed. She lost everything. Natalia got probation and community service. Rosa's business barely survived, and she lost all respect in the community. Mateo moved out of his family's home. He started therapy. He works 2 jobs now to send money for Grace. He sees her once a week, supervised visits arranged by Christopher. He's trying to prove he's changed, that he's finally strong enough to deserve a second chance. I don't know if I'll ever give him that chance. Maybe someday. Maybe when I can look at him without remembering how he stood in that courtroom and repeated lies about me. Maybe when my daughter is old enough to ask about her father, and I can tell her that he fought for her even if it was too late. For now, I'm healing. I'm building a new life with my daughter and my brother. I'm learning to trust again, to believe that not everyone will betray me when things get hard. Some people think money can buy happiness. Rachel thought it could buy love. She thought she could play both my brother and me, destroy my marriage, take everything I had, and walk away rich. But the real treasure was never the money. It was the family who fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. My brother didn't save me with his billions. He saved me with his love. If this story of revenge and justice gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Comment below and tell me, do you think Stella should give Mateo another chance, or is some betrayal too deep to forgive? I really want to know what you would do. And remember, never let anyone make you feel small. You're worth fighting for. You're worth protecting. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next story.